morning, everybody. I don't know if these are going to give a glare or not. Let me see if they give a glare. Do they give a glare? I don't know if they give a glare or not. They might give a glare off. I think they do. So wearing blue light glasses again. I don't know if I'm going to wear it for this or not. Probably not. There's a bunch of stuff to really go over here. But the most important thing that we have to focus on is non-farm payrolls, and that's coming out very shortly. There's actually a spot in here where I can actually go into economic data. Let me move this thing out of the way. Calendar right here and go through it to save time. I'll go through hourly earnings, all this stuff, but everything you need is right in here in TradingView as well. So I don't have to click over right now. And I'll just show you like what we're waiting for here. And the biggest thing for me about this is I'm kind of surprised that the street's not taking down their numbers like at all, like not even a little bit after what we saw happen with ADP unemployment and what's going on with Doge. So I don't know if it's a seasonal thing. I'm not an expert in this clearly, but I do find this interesting. So we're going to get these numbers. For me, the biggest thing is going to be the breakdown right here. And then we'll go from there and we'll see how that goes. But we might as well just get into a couple things until we get that. So today we're supposed to have this conference on Bitcoin, and I do think that this is worth paying attention to. I have no idea, like literally no idea how that conference is going to go or how people are we can even say viewing that conference. But to me, I think it's really telling to an extent where, you know, you're at a point here with this where we're waiting for something. We don't know what we're waiting for, right? Like we're waiting to hear that you're going to put $1 billion into it, or your X percent or 1% of the treasury is going to go in it, whatever. And the announcement last night is, oh, by the way, all this Bitcoin that we have over here, we're going to put it over here and we're going to call it Bitcoin Reserve. It didn't go over very well. Like if you go and take a look at the market and what happened with it, it was not well received. And I think we should go through this just in case you haven't seen it yet and you don't know. But what you'd want to do with something like this is when you ever have a news event is you mark that area off, because if you have another event today, like the major event, and you can't get over that area or you hit it, this is where you would fade. So I always just put little alerts there because I want to be aware of it. And this is where you had, obviously, you know, this is where you had massive success on it. And this is obviously where you had what? Like massive, like, go scratch, for lack of a better term, where people were like, we don't believe what you're doing. It's just kind of a smoke and mirror, which it kind of really was. It was really kind of cheesy. You know, oh, we're going to take this over here and we're going to call it this now. Okay. So it's not what people were going for. People thought that he was going to commit capital. Maybe this is step one. Maybe they'll explain that today. But I would watch that range here, which is 91.2 and 84.6, and go from there. The name that moved the most on it clearly was MicroStrategy. I actually bought it. I was doing some paperwork and was actually there. I actually bought it here of a little move. I made a little and I just got out of the way. I didn't expect it to bounce like this. But in overnight trading, went right back up $10. So, but I would watch this and I would expect some movement there as well. I do want to go through this because I think it's very important before we even get into like earnings names and, you know, talking about them and what to focus on here. For me, it's really going to be about non-farm payrolls, which is going to come out in less than 5 minutes. But what I think you want to focus on with like the breadth of the market, from my perspective, is you cracked 50. So you lost 50% of names are now under the 200-day moving average that are in the S&P. That's not good. It's just not. I mean, the best thing that I can do in markets like this is just tell you what it is and not say, oh, we're going to bounce. And you don't know that. This is what you know. You're below 50. You're below 50. That's it. You don't want these below 50. And when they are, unless you're short, and then when you are, you want to wait for them to get back up before you start thinking about longer term trends or anything like that. Anytime you're below 50, watch. Anytime you're below 50 here, anytime at all, just this line in particular, you can see how your trading went and your swing trades. It didn't go well. Here you're really smart. Here you're not so smart. Here you were much smarter. Here you fought it, and here you're breaking. So until this fixes itself, and I'm just going to just newsflash, it always fixes itself. It's just a question of when. Until it does, you don't really want to just go hog wild. You want to be very specific about what you're doing, because you can go through periods of time like you did here where you are below it for a very long period of time. And you don't want to be going crazy there. What you do is you figure out what's going to move on it. So like for us, there's very specific sectors that we know, we keep talking about in the community over and over again. I think they're exhausted of me hearing about it, but like there's certain sectors that are just going to be immune to this and benefit from it. And you focus on those. Just think of defensive sectors. I mean, it makes the most sense, but you have to let that play itself out. So let's go from there. What time do we have here? 2.5 minutes, plenty of time. In regards to here on the McClellan Index, just to show this, I'm going to get into great detail on this on Saturday, but just to get into this, like right here, you're going to want to just pay attention to the fact that you've got to the zero line and you're rolling over. It's not good. So, we can say anything we want, but I've seen what good looks like before. This is not what good looks like. And then I just want to go through this before we get to this number, which will be in about 2 minutes. And these are just facts. And I think that, facts really don't care about your feelings. So if you look at this from this perspective on the NDX, this is the 200-day moving average. You've not been below it since January 2023. And getting above this and staying above it is absolutely huge. And the question really becomes, you have 3 to 5 days to get over that, and then it becomes resistance. It's just on average. But you need to hold here. And if you don't, and I'm going to just be blunt, institutions look at this and they pay attention to it. So like the 3 things I just went over with you, they look at those things. So keep that in mind. This is what we're dealing with right now, and we'll go from there. But I don't think that you want to put yourself in a position here, to do anything. Hold on one second. Let me go to TMF. Let's go take a look at this, see if we got any indications yet on anything, which probably, obviously, we don't. But you want to see the breakdown. My personal opinion, I mean, I have no idea. I'm not, an expert on this stuff, but I think it will be, we'll go from there and we'll see how that goes. But a lot of people think, I get it, but they're saying like it doesn't include Trump, but they know it was coming and they knew tariffs were coming. So, and they knew that, immigration reform was coming. So I don't know. We'll see. And we'll go from there. But let's pull up the ES here so that we're geared towards this and we can go have some fun. Get to it. Come on, little guy. Print. Oh, you're going to give me cheesy long-term numbers? I should have gone somewhere else, shouldn't I have? So you're ripping. So the street's saying it's good, and we're still waiting for them to come in. 160. I have an unemployment change. So we're ripping, and you're really not going to get 151. So you're still light. What we want to do is see the breakdown. Full-time employment change is negative 20. 151's not bad at all. You might actually go up on that. You may actually lift on that. Let's see what you do here. So even the other numbers yet. Manufacturing, government plus 10. Privates 140 versus 142. You're in line. So maybe we're not going to see it till next quarter or next month. You still might fade then, if that's the case. I'm surprised you don't see any of it, but they were off. They were still off 150. So Goldman said 170. I don't know what they were smoking, but see what we do with it. And we'll see how this goes. But what I would do with it is mark it. Now, as one of the guys in the community said, yeah, this doesn't have Trump's or anything Trump did in it yet. That's true. So do they fade that? I don't have an answer to that yet. I don't know if they're going to fade it or not fade it. This is what the ES is doing. I'm more curious about what the names are doing that had good news. So like AVGO had very good news last night, but it's very clear it's been a fade ever since. And it looks to me like it's going to continue to be a fade, but we'll see how it goes and then kind of go from there. But you can already see it's already broken. Here, watch. You just put a VWAP there. See the VWAP? So that's the average price everybody's in. And since this morning, you've been broken and now you're just sitting there. So maybe you're going to get over it. Maybe it's fine. Maybe we'll rock and roll now. I don't know. I don't think so, but be nice if we do. It's easier. And then we'll kind of go from there. So you seem to be holding and maybe you get some relief on that number. Let's go take a look at TLT and see what you're doing. They're selling the bond down. Let's go see what they're doing with the NASDAQ as a whole. Yeah, that's not really a ringing endorsement. Yeah, I'm really surprised here. So like even on a really good number where you're going to get some relief, we didn't really do much. What did we do off that number? Let's take a look here. So what did the TQQ do off that number? We just go from there. 2.5%. Okay. So we go here and take a look at the NQ. What did the NQ do off that number? What's the high of that? 80 basis points off that number. Okay. It's decent. You already got a bearish engulfing. Let's see what you do here. Okay. Well, there's your answer. I'm probably going to want to watch this here, see what it does. We're already going to fade it. I got to watch when I put these limit orders out there. Sometimes I put these orders out there, I forget that I have them. Well, let's see what happens here. And we'll go from there. Yeah, you can't even rally really. So we'll see what happens with it. What we can always do is take this and measure it out. Drop the third. I could put the others in too, but it's pretty clear what's going to happen here to me. I think that was it. Get rid of the 0.5. Well, we should leave the 0.5 for now, right? Let's get rid of this and this and this. And let's get to it. See if we can do something here. So you're holding the 0.5 level already. So you still got net buyers. See how this goes. Not gonna make it. Let's see what you do here. You're not really lifting here on this. And if this isn't going to get you going, what is really the question. And they're buying bonds. Okay, let's get to it. 6:37 in the room. Let me put this down on the banner so that you guys can see this stuff and go from there. We'll use this one. was the exact number. We'll go through it so that way I can put it out there for people that come in. So you came in at 151 versus the estimate, right? So 151K versus 160K. And then we would go here. And then we also have IoT down 9%. HPE is down 20%. That was a really bad quarter. We'll go from there. All right, I put that down there so we can see something, and we'll go from there. But what we want to do is just watch here, see if it can lift. So far, you're holding the 50% line, which is good. And what I can do here, get rid of these for a second, and you just show you. The fact that you're holding it's decent. I'd rather go up than down. It's a lot easier to make money when it goes up versus down, but I'll take what I can get. So what you do is we measured the move, the entire move here, and this is what we're getting out of that move, that 50% line on the original, like up, down, top to bottom move of this move. That's your 50% line. And you seem to be holding it for now. So still you have net buyers. And then we'll go from there. I do think you're going to see that. Someone just said to me, you're going to see rotation. I do agree with that. I do think you're going to see, I do think you'll see rotation into this, but I don't know that it lasts because it's already fading. So like, I 100% think you're going to see some level of rotation, but I don't know that it lasts. This is like really just been a disaster, and that's TZ. TZA is pretty much the easiest trade in the world right now on any dip, and you can like see that where that's all they're doing is it just breaks down and they just buy it. Breaks down, they just buy it. I mean, it's crazy. That's just getting started. These 3X ETFs, by the way, they reset daily. That's why they move so violently. But we'll go from there and see how it goes. So, but I would watch that. But yeah, I think that they're going to fade the whole thing, but you never know. We'll see. The AVGO is really going to be your bellwether. I mean, that's what everyone's going to look at. What I would do with the AVGO, if you wanted to see how the day is going to go, the easiest way to do this is let's go to a bear chart or a plain chart, as I should refer to it, and just use the anchored VWAP from that level. I don't know that I did that perfectly, so let's get rid of that. Let's do it again. I love when we can do things perfectly. Okay, now you're just taunting me. Come on, work with me. Okay, so you can see the test right here of it, and then you held that average VWAP, and then you bounced on that VWAP, and then you lifted. Always set these. Most people will like sell the undercut here, and that's really where you can actually be looking at adding to it. If you miss this, you can add to those areas. If it flips back over, it's actually not the worst idea in the world. But what you're seeing here now, what it's already showing you, is that the average person is like, all right, peace out. So you want to take that into account, kind of go from there. Is how I would view it and see how it goes and go from there. But they're buying bonds, and that's pretty much it. Good. What else do we have here? What do I really want to go over? We can go over HPE, and then we can go through some of this other stuff. But HPE, this was bad. I mean, I don't think anybody thought it was good, and I don't think anybody thought it was going to be good, but this was bad. So, major supports right here, right around this level, 1450. You hit it this morning, and you've been riding the lightning ever since. Does it hold? Does it not hold? I don't usually look at shorting these until they get back to some level of interest, like up here, and then I kind of want to see it bounce around, maybe turn, and kind of go from there. What I'm seeing a lot of is I'm seeing a lot of people that are short these names going into earnings, and then I'm seeing them just break down. So like yesterday, I saw this, and you can see your level right here. And even after 20-something years, I still get impatient. So like in here, I short this, and it doesn't really work. It kind of worked, but not really. I could have made like a couple bucks, and I just stayed with it, and then I got stopped out and lost money. Came back up, rallied right to that low of that level, right, of that post-market, pre-market on earnings. They're like game changers by marking them off. I mean, because there's really somebody there. Like, people don't understand how much institutions are moving after hours. So you got right to it, and then you just formed like that perfect little tiny doji, and then you broke down, and then it was just selling, selling, selling ever since. Oh, that trade worked. That's nice. Got that going for me. So what we want to do is just go here and here. Give me a second. Hold on 1 second, guys. Bear with me. So I would be aware of this. You know, what's happening and what people aren't understanding either. Like, I feel sometimes like we should do live classes or just like talk, like open Q&A sometimes on some of these things. Maybe I'll start doing it like every other week on a Thursday, like open Q&A and just talk, because there's things that people don't get. Like, besides the earnings, you also have multiple compression. So people would look at like NVIDIA and go, well, NVIDIA beat, but there's multiple compression, and then you're going to have to deal with that. There's reasons why, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I think that people are missing that side of this. Like, what are you really willing to pay for AVGO's earnings? Like, what are you really willing to pay for those? And I think that's really very important for people to kind of wrap their noodle around. Like, what are you willing to pay for those earnings? Everybody's going to have to figure that out for themselves. I think you have to look at this market and realize that a fade or a rally, like significant moves, are not out of the question. My concern with stuff like this, when I start getting stopped out of like these kinds of things, like I have a really large position in spot, and I had additions that I added on this earnings, and I planned on holding it for a very long period of time. It has to do a lot to get me out. Like here, great earnings, no reason for me to sell. Here, great earnings, no reason for me to sell. As long as something's doing what it's doing and I have a long-term position in it and earnings keep doing what it's doing, I'll just add to like really long-term positions. But when you start cracking, you gotta start like really asking yourself some serious questions about what you're doing with some of these positions. So I'm hoping that this holds here, but you have some things out there, man, that are really, they refer to it as derating, but really what it is it's a really fancy MBA way of saying multiple compression. And really what they're doing is saying, I'm not willing to pay 30 times earnings anymore. I'll pay 20. And then they'll go, oh, okay, well, 20 is fine. I'll take 20. And so that gets these names down. Understand that's what's happening here. I think there's a lot of value overseas right now in some of these names. Some of these names look like they're just going to absolutely rip. So I don't really like this name at all. And because of the gaps in the chart. So like you see these gaps, it's very hard for me to trade these names. You're setting up a huge, huge flag up here, but it's just so difficult because you use something like, oh, I'll just use like the 12 as a stop. And you're like, all right, I'm out. Yep. That was smart. And then, wham, up $12. So, it's not easy to buy these things. From my perspective, it's very difficult to buy these names longer term. So we'll see what happens, but let's take some questions and then we'll go from there. There's a ton to go over. And I have a ton on, so I am going to have to leave early today, but make sure you watch Saturday's video. It's going to be packed. I already have it all mapped out and we'll go from there. Good morning. Yes. VSTM. The tankers are interesting because when you have lower oil prices, the tankers are supposed to go higher. Man, they are not going higher. And that CEO that keeps buying $1 million worth of calls on his stock lately is just getting destroyed. Long term, I really like buying the tankers here. Long term, I really like that. I really like that idea of buying the tankers here. I think it's a great idea. I don't know that I want to do it, though. I don't trust anything that's going on right now. I really don't. He says these things in these comments where he's like, oh, we're working on the Panama Canal and we're doing this. And then he's like, but that's just one canal. And then so you're like, well, what does that mean? And then what is the cost of these guys traveling? Is that going to go up? See, because usually when crude drops, what these guys do, like crude's going to fall off a cliff. Like I don't think if you're betting on crude, no matter how good you are at technical analysis, right? And you're betting against OPEC, you're just wrong. Like you just are. You don't bet against OPEC. You just don't. I mean, they control everything. So they control the price. So it's really just that simple. So like when you see something like this and you look at something like that, like, does it break? Does it not break? I personally think it breaks. But when oil prices drop, they employ all these tankers. And the tankers are employed because they want the oil to go around the world on these ships, and they pay for it so that they don't have to, get rid of it. That way, they wait for oil prices to go up. That's not happening. And I wonder if that's because of Russia, Ukraine, and then they think Russia's ships are going to be out there again. And since Russian ships are going to be out there again, that they're not going to get the same premium for their ships that they were once getting. I'm wondering if that's it. I'm wondering if that's what it is. I don't have a way of knowing that. I'm just speculating, but I don't know. I don't know that I go there. What else you got for us, brother? VSTM? I don't know what they do. I would just be looking at a chart and just pontificating more than anything. And there's your line 7. Do you have vol? You do. So are we over like a 200? I don't know. I'm not really crazy about it. There's your level. There's your level right there, John. There's so much uncertainty, John. It's crazy. Please hit the like button. Helps greatly with the algorithm. And I purposely don't want ads. Like from Australia. Hello from Miami. Yay. Yeah, I understand why they do too. Like I read some of these reports on it, and I read some reports on that project, and people think it's the real deal. We'll say, you have a gap here, which makes it really an interesting play, because if you got in here, okay, if you could get in there, hold on 1 second. Hold on. Boop. And you can fill that. Boop. And you're really right there. You don't even have to wait for that. You can look at it like down here somewhere else, but you got a straight line. I mean, you got an easy 20 points there. So, and you never filled it. Like you never filled it once. So usually those, how are we doing here? Yay. You never filled it once. So let me go there. Let me just type this in because I made all these notes. And then I forgot to do it. I got to go back. I use like Notion, and I use like all this stuff to store all these notes. Man, there's nothing just like a piece of paper. And you guys are gonna be like, whatever, boomer. There's nothing like a piece of paper or like a journal where you just have it all like written down, and just you open it up and you're like, oh yeah, I got to go over this. Like there's literally nothing better than that. All these apps and internets. And then I'm like, oh, I have that saved in Google Docs. Let me go over that. Or it's just in this book. I don't know. My son makes fun of me because I still get a newspaper. He's like, no one reads the newspaper anymore. I'm like, well, I want to read the articles I want to read, not the articles they want to put in front of me. How about that? Boom. It did gap fill. Here's the bigger issue that I see is that I understand what he's doing with Doge, but like when you have people ripping off a Tesla logo and replacing it with a Honda logo so people don't know what you're driving because you're so embarrassed by the company, like whether you agree with what he's doing or not, I'm not going down that road. Like, I don't care. Like, I don't think anybody on any side of anything that is watching this play out globally thinks that any government is efficient. Like, I don't think anybody thinks that. You still own a company and you're still like, doing things. So you're still going to make people angry. And why you'd want to make half the world angry, I don't know. And it's a problem. It's a real problem. So, I don't know that it's going to stop. And if you really look at the price of the stock ever since this started, this is what's happening. And a lot of people are kind of over the next big thing. You can only like put a sign up that says to egress so many times before people realize that just leads to an exit. And, I think that's, the carnival's kind of over a little bit there. And now it's kind of like, show me. I do feel that way. So I don't know, man. I thought 270, you were going to pretty much bounce pretty hard and stop. You could have a one handle on this. You could see 180 again. Remember when things get bad, it always gets worse than we think it does, John. Like always, man. It just does. Just the way it is. Because people hold on their hopes and dreams. So I'm sorry, Alan. The Bob is really interesting to me, but I just don't know that I feel like getting, coming in on like a Monday morning and having an issue. I don't know what this does. I'd want to be over these. I'd want to be over all this before I do anything. Halo. I'd need to know the drug. I mean, you'd have to know what you're doing there. Like, I don't know what the story is. You got to know that story, man. And you have to know them cold. I wouldn't be adding any value there, Ed. What's up, Dan? KT. What is with you guys in this name? You guys love this name. I mean, you can keep seeing the area. It keeps hitting over and over again. So I don't think until you get through there's any point. This is kind of interesting because you're making higher highs and you're closing higher. But unless you're in already, do you want to do that ahead of earnings? Probably not. I mean, I don't want to do that ahead of earnings. So, wow. Yeah, I mean, that's just a monster. That's an absolute monster. What's up, Kev? Yeah, I mean, I tend to not sit in cash. I tend to play the game, buy bonds. Like I'll play bond. I'll buy bonds here. I'll trade bonds. I will short the market. Literally, like as we were talking, like when we did this, I was just shorting that. Like here, like I'll just show you. So, like I'll just watch stuff like this because it just gets so it's so easy to put these on. It's like, okay, up over, like this is the definition of like what a dark cloud cover looks like, and then you can just see it, and you're like, all right, like I don't know if we're going to break or not, but these kinds of trades are pretty simple. And then like, am I going to hold that open? Am I not going to hold that open? So like the minute you lose that open, you're hosed, and then you'll go back to this level. Like I'll do that. I do think cash is king, and trading around this stuff makes the most sense out of anything. I do feel that way, Kev. In regards to AMD, I mean, my personal opinion is like, if you have the time and you have the patience, I personally think, is it that time already? Wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to go. I personally think that you're going to look at like an 8 handle. I do. And I honestly don't like how orderly this is. Like just rip the Band-Aid off, man. And how orderly it is leads me to believe that this is going to be longer, more drawn out than we think it is. So that in itself becomes, that becomes an issue. And we'll see where that goes. But that's kind of where my head is with it. But we'll see. We'll see how this plays. I don't know. It seems heavy again, doesn't it, this morning? And you had decent news, so we'll have to see. But it does feels heavy to me. I wouldn't be going out there looking at that. Morning from Canada. Morning from Miami. Yay! You have a bunch of Canadians in the room. Walmart. Yeah, I mean, first, the Canadian dollar versus us is probably going to go through the roof versus the U.S. I mean, that's huge for you guys from a buying power perspective, right? I don't follow the, what do you guys call it, the loan or something? I don't see how that holds. I mean, it's almost a perfect H. So I don't know how that holds. In regards to Costco, it's not really the earnings, but like if you have multiple compression, which is really what you're going through, everything's in trouble. So, I mean, what are you trading at? 35, 40 times earnings? I mean, like, what are we trading at? Like, what are our earnings? $4? $4. All right, 16. 16 times 1,000. What are you trading at? 50, 60? Yeah, 50 times earnings, 55 times. I mean, like, these things can get smoked if they start doing multiple compression, which it seems like that's the game right now, that they're playing the multiple compression game. It seems like that's what they're doing. And it seems like they're leaning on the market a little bit this morning. Things seem very heavy, don't they? So I think that's where this is really heading. But we'll see where it goes. Go from there. I mean, why? Like, I always, like, Julian, I used to do that when I was like first starting to trade. And like, to me, it's always been, I'm not big enough to stop the water from the dam. So why put my finger in it? Just let the dam burst and pick up the fish after. Like, it's just so much easier. No, that's the countdown music. Is that a no? We don't like the countdown music? Hi from Europe. Hi from Miami. Yay. Are killing it, down more than 100%. Are they allowed to sell it? I like Hims. I get that. Like, I think I get Bald Guy shampoo from them. But from one of those, it's either them or Keeps, one of them. I think it's Hims. I don't know how you could go near this chart. I mean, they had that drug, and the drug got pulled. That was their revenue source. Like, that was their big driver. I didn't know that TDOC has the ability to sell that drug now. I don't think anybody knows that because it's not acting like it. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to try to make that a bigger habit. I'm going to have to. What's up, Tariq? Yeah, I was in this, and then he freaked me out. I was in this, and I really liked it. You are holding that breakout level right there. So maybe that's the game. Maybe the game is to buy that there and just build it. I do think this gets settled sooner than later. There's all kinds of talk going out there right now about how this is going to end, but we're not obviously in those meetings. What's going on, T? Good morning from Vancouver. We have a couple of people in Vancouver. Vancouver's beautiful, like insanely beautiful. It's almost unreal what it looks like to me, like how pretty it is. Like, it's crazy. Yeah, it does feel heavy, doesn't it? And, my hope was that it would hold for a little bit longer. I mean, he has his beliefs. He has a belief. It is what it is. He does a lot of seasonality work. I find that very difficult. I'll look at it, but I think a lot of seasonality stuff's nonsense. I think you have to look at what you're dealing with. I mean, I don't think. See, I think what you have to go through is understand what you're going through. I think this is what people are missing. Like, what is the yield that people are going to pay for? What are you willing to pay for earnings right now with the most uncertain market that you had? Forget that. Let's say earnings just stay where they are with all these companies, right? Let's just say everything stays the same. Nothing loses, nothing gains. what are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay the same PE that you paid 2 months ago? Most people are going to say like, no, because of what's happening with GDP. So they're like, no. Okay, well, that's a pickle. And people are going to have to look at that and figure that out. I do think we should do a live Q&A. I think it'd be fun. VSA, I think VSA is fine. I'm just going to go through these quickly because I have to get going here. BIIB, this is kind of interesting. Let's do this. Let's do that too. SMCI is in a lot of trouble, Philip. Like even the directors are blowing out of the stock at this level. This is worth doing. I actually think this is really interesting, and I think that you're probably at a level where it makes sense to look at that longer term. BIIB, I want to do. Personally, I think that these things, I think any interest rate play is so washed out. And this is really an interest rate play when it gets to biotech. To me, this stuff is just completely, utterly washed out. And I don't know. I mean, I just feel that way. I really do. It doesn't mean I'm right. But really, you buy biotech when it's completely broken. It's like buying the housing sector. You buy it when it's completely, utterly broken and nobody wants to be in it. That's when you go near it. And I think that makes the most sense. So, I do. I think that makes the most sense. People are watching this stuff turn already, and we'll go from there. But let me just go here and take a look. Give me a second. What's up, Greg? Hope you're well. It's a really good question, man. You got 2 weeks and it's going to be there, brother. I mean, we're definitely going to say it. It's Mr. Pickle. Where you been? I mean, I don't think it fades. It's fading. So I can think anything I want. It's fading. So you're fading across the board. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I think. What's it doing? It's fading. It was up. It went up for 2 minutes. We were literally up for 2 minutes. Since we've been talking, we had 2 minutes of up and we had 28 minutes of down. What do you think's going to happen today? Candidly, that's how I look at it. So it's I don't know. It's kind of how I look at it. SCI had a position in. It looks like it's going to hit my stop this morning. I like that chart a lot, but I don't think it's going to matter. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right, I got to jump, guys, super late. Trade to win. Have a great weekend, everybody.